the truth will set you free. Oh, maybe pain and sorrow, there's no tomorrow. Will take a hold of me, baby, baby, baby. All alone, baby, won't you come along and hold me? I ain't the seventh son, but I know where I'm from. Let's head on, head on.
All right. Why don't we get this thing going?
Yeah, let's
Hello, everyone. Welcome in tonight.
welcome in. Welcome in, folks. Wow, it's episode 53 already.
You sound surprised every week. It's like you're surprised that there's another episode.
No, I'm just surprised we've been doing it this long. To be completely honest.
With
always surprised.
With no plans to stop, right?
No, not at all. I just again, just surprised. Look, we've talked about our humble beginnings quite a few times. Like we're definitely not. We came into this blind, and somehow we're still swimming.
There are people who actually watch us. That's crazy.
Right? right? People actually sit there and just listen to us. Fuck. Please continue listening to us, by the way.
That's it. I'm out.
Yeah, no.
I'm done. All right. So what do we got tonight, man? Let's add some excitement to our program.
Yeah. So I do want to address a couple things first for those of you who follow us on Twitter. We did say we're going to talk about a couple other like Diablo 4 and a couple other things. We will. They're probably going to take a bit of a back seat to kind of what came out very recently, as you can probably see in the title. So we're
I shortened it. I shortened it, by the way. I shortened the title.
Greg out here changing my awesome titles.
Yeah, I know.
It was a little long. It was a little long.
It was.
It's all those big words that I couldn't handle it. I was just like,
big words.
Hurt brain.
It's hurting my brain. Yeah.
But yeah. So IGN. Well, first of all, I'm Rob, your host. This is Matt and Greg, my two co-hosts. Welcome to episode 53 of the Update Log. I really need to get better about that intro. Anyway. So yeah, IGN decided to pull an Embracer Group and buy up a bunch of journalism studios, if we can call them that these days, because I don't know, game journalism leaves a lot to be desired. I'm gonna put my feelings out there. It's not like the good old days of PC Gamer and Game Informer and all those when 10, 15 years ago when the news is actually, news and not sensationalist bullshit. Or,
I think he's getting old, Matt. Just talking about the good old days.
Just incorrect.
Senility is setting in.
No, it's not. Don't even jinx me, man. But it's just kind of circling back to what we've been seeing in the industry for the last couple of years, especially immediately post-COVID, we've seen a lot of just, not just in the gaming industry, but a lot of just companies, large companies elsewhere, just buying up this and that and all that. And now we're seeing the effects of that. And like Embracer Group, IGN has basically, even before the ink was dry on these contracts, through research, we found out that a lot of the studios that were bought up, and I'm going to name a couple. So let's see.
Immediately started headcount reduction.
Yeah, they immediately started just cutting people. So they bought up, IGN bought up Eurogamer, Rock Paper Shotgun, VG247, Dicebreaker, and a couple of other ones with their acquisition.
Hey, maybe those companies just had too many employees.
Sure. I can't really argue counter to that, Greg, because that is the thing.
I'm just saying, man.
That is the thing, but is that what happened here? Probably not.
Just like a lot of these sites, organizations, probably don't have that many employees. It's usually just a core group of people that keep the site running.
Yeah.
So
especially with. Go ahead, Matt.
So I don't think like the head count was really all that high to begin with.
Yeah. So they let's see. Let me go back to my notes here. They bought up about 4 or 5 different major. I mean, that's the thing. These are major, Eurogamer, Rock Paper Shotgun, VG247, Dicebreaker. These were pretty well known, sites, information sites. Now we all go. I know I've been. I recognize Rock Paper Shotgun. I've been to Eurogamer. I recognize Dicebreaker. I've been to IGN themselves. And here's the odd part with IGN buying up more studios and consolidating. They're already at the head of the charts, like by a large margin. So looking at some numbers in terms of like kind of average of site visitation for these journalism sites, IGN has about 300 million visitors to their site. And I think that's per month. The next largest was Eurogamer, which they now own, with 52 million. They didn't need Eurogamer. They didn't need Rock Paper Shotgun. They didn't need these sites. So why?
Here's the thing.
Gobbling up market share.
Well, yeah. They had, like 300 million, but what if they had 350 million?
I mean, that's what it was.
They're
what Greg said.
Yeah, they're willing to gain that. They said that's piece of the market.
Why settle for just a paltry 300 million when you can have 350 million? I mean,
here's the thing, and this is the way a lot of businesses work, where they never stop. It's like there's always got to be more and more and more and more. Whether it be like, in growth or essentially just growth. Business these days are very growth oriented, and they focus very heavily on that. So one way to grow your business is essentially to buy out smaller competitors and absorb them.
In terms of business, there's only two ways to go, and that's up and down. There is no happy medium. There's not a place where you can get to that. Now we've made it. We're just going to coast a lot, right? No, that doesn't work. You either continue to grow or you get smaller. That's you either drive forward and continue to grow your business, or your business will begin to contract. That's just how it works.
That's just good business. And here's the thing, though. At least in my opinion, and Greg, please weigh in on this, as the individual who has more business acumen than the rest of us. There's a way to continue to progress. That's. And I don't want to sound like a bleeding heart, or I'm getting on my soapbox, but I'm just gonna say it. There's a way. I feel like there's a way to progress while still being ethical. And everybody's gonna have a different meaning for that. So I'm gonna leave that as is.
Mm-hmm.
But I, from my perspective, what we're seeing in a lot of these acquisitions, I mean, we're seeing these studios and companies get acquired and they get stripped down. To me, that's not ethical. That's not ethical, nor is it, to a degree. And again, I don't know all the ins and outs. I mean, none of us know all the ins and outs unless we're working there. Probably not even then. It's not good business in that you're getting rid of talent. Like a lot, in the acquisition that IGN just did, they got rid of a lot of talent that have been in the industry for 10, 15 years. People who wrote accurate, compelling journalism regarding the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're actually they're moving to use things like, I mean, actually I'll read one of the quotes. It looks, I'm paraphrasing here, but individuals at the C-suite level, at a lot of these companies, IGN included, are basically arguing that audiences, so it means me, everybody watching, should be getting their information and news of the industry from things like TikTok, AI-generated content, which we already know is fucking wrong. Like we know AI-generated content is at least half of the time incorrect.
It makes stuff up sometimes.
And Twitch personalities. And here's the thing:
that's us.
On the servers.
They should get our information from us.
There's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't anything wrong with that on the surface. And the reason why I say that, from my perspective, is because, first of all, we already covered AI-generated content is sometimes blatantly wrong. Twitch personalities, even us, like. And maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna be honest with you. We're not journalists. I do spend quite a bit of time reading articles, fact checking, doing my best to provide as accurate and the best information I can for you. But I didn't go to school for journalism.
Well, okay. I want to stop you right there for just a moment. Okay. Now, there's an argument to be made here that, and essentially what you just said is that you have to go to school for journalism to be a journalist. And that's absolutely incorrect. Not true.
True. I'll agree with that. True. If that's the impression I gave, I think that's just years of, hey, you got to go to school for that.
I mean, I
building
don't think
an-
I mean,
so
here's the thing. I don't think I like put journalists as like one of our titles, but I mean, we are here essentially spreading
we're
Well,
information
reporting.
to people and
in,
stuff like
in,
that. So like, we're in the wheelhouse, kind
in,
I agree.
exactly. In the classical sense of what a journalist is, yeah, we're not journalists. But I mean, in the classical sense of what a journalist is, I mean, that's involves pen and paper, maybe a typewriter or something like that, where, because you didn't have the tools that we have available to us now. And I'm not going to say that every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there who has an opinion is a journalist. That's not fair to the people that are and here I am using fair,
of
but I
professional
mean,
journalists.
well, there are there are a lot of people out there that have committed a great deal of time and resources to being able to build factual arguments and actually do the research. And we do a
Build the
fair amount, but I know there's people out there that do a fair amount more than what we do.
Oh,
Hate
yeah.
to say that, but that's the truth.
No, it
Yeah,
is. It is.
one name that I've come across a lot of times when it comes like especially like investigative journalism in the tech industry is Jason Schreier. Lot of
Name
good
rings
stuff
a bell.
actually comes out of that guy. I wouldn't be surprised because I mean we look at the same sources and a lot of those sources actually quote a lot of his work when like
Mhm.
yeah, he's an investigative journalist in the tech industry.
Yeah.
So a lot he looks into a lot of like I guess the background stuff that's going on, controversies.
I guess, and honestly, that was the point I was trying to make. Is it again? I guess I would say we're journalists adjacent. We're in the spirit. We're bringing you guys the news as best that we can. With as close to accurate information as we can. So yeah, we're loose journalists.
Well,
Uh,
let's look at it. Let's look at it this way. Rob, are you an actor?
no,
Okay, but you have 2 credits for acting
yes,
to your name.
I do.
You,
Yes,
you,
I do.
Well, and actually possibly a 3rd because that movie
Yeah.
hasn't been made yet.
Look, here's the thing: anyone that role plays is acting.
True.
Role playing is acting. So you could say anyone who
All right, y'all
is in a sense
convince
an
me.
actor.
I redact what I said earlier. Yes, okay, I get the point. I guess the point I'm trying to make is don't. How do I put this? Vet your sources. I mean, to the degree that it matters to you. Folks on TikTok, Twitch, Joe Schmo guy over there with the channel. Make sure you're vetting your sources and double checking the things that you're consuming is basically what I'm saying. And the reason why I'm saying that is because that quote that I was giving you about the C-suite level, essentially executives, to lesser or greater degree, are arguing that we shouldn't be going to what we hope and long ago could stand on these journalist sites where, hey, these guys were writing articles about X, Y, Z in the industry, and we could trust that they were giving us accurate information. Now we go to TikTok or Twitch or whatever. And again, based on what you and Greg, you guys and Matt said, you're not wrong. Now we the update log is that we are trying to give and giving accurate information to the best of our ability. So that's I get that point. But here's the reason why these people are saying that. Number one, ad revenue. This all kind of circles back to ad revenue. It blows my mind that has
You mean
become such
the
a
one
big
thing that we
fucking
don't get?
Yeah, the one that we don't get is ad revenue. Yeah, like ad revenue and product promotion and SEO and all that stuff. That is now what's king.
Right. Well, and just to be clear on that one simple thing, and I really want to point this out, and because it's a big deal. We choose not to bombard our audience with ads. That's why we don't get ad revenue. We chose not to. We just decided, you know what, we're not gonna do this and plaster ads all over our content. We'll just opt out of doing that. Other people can do that. We're not going to.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, we're not even like big enough to where we make much money off it. Even if we did, we get like a few pennies, but it's really just not worth it.
Hey, about $1, man. I mean, come on.
Maybe if we had like hundreds, thousands of viewers, then maybe there'd be something to gain out of that. But right now,
I don't think
there's really no point.
I don't think even then, honestly. I just don't. I think stick to
I keep it light.
Yeah, a core set of beliefs is what we started with, and that's the thing I think we keep all the way through.
Yeah.
No matter how many people we have, right?
Yeah, even if we had 100,000 viewers right now, I wouldn't want to bombard them with ads because that's not who we are. It's not what we do. We're not here to take up to waste your time. We're here to give you some actionable information that you can make an informed decision on. Whether you want to consume that information or not, it's up to you. But I'm not gonna sit here and just play a bunch of fucking ads for people to watch because I hate watching fucking ads. I hate watching ads. Pointless. I don't want to buy your fucking car insurance. God damn it.
Oh, the people over on YouTube don't have to worry about the ads because they wouldn't get bombarded with them anyway. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think it'd just be on Twitch.
But anyway, we got a little off topic there. So the irony of this is that the journalism sector within the gaming industry was already small to begin with. There were 16 kind of total companies that own majority stake in that particular venue. IGN being one of them, and IGN Entertainment. They own IGN, GamesIndustry.biz, Eurogamer, Rock Paper Shotgun, VG247, Dicebreaker. Yeah, I'm going to read you a couple of them to kind of give you guys an idea. So, Fandom, which owns GameSpot, Giant Bomb, Fanatical, GameFAQs, and Metacritic. One that you guys all know, GNO Media, which owns Gizmodo and Kotaku, and we've actually talked about Kotaku in a couple episodes back about the direction they're going. They've completely stopped game journalism, or damn near enough, and have moved to game guides, which you guessed it, circles back to guides. So the reason why Kotaku is shifting to guides is because it's by and large more profitable for them. Because everybody's going to, and Google has a role to play in this. We'll get to that in a second. But Google, everybody Googles how to do X, Y, Z in X game. You get sent to a Kotaku game guide. What comes with that game guide? Ads.
Yeah.
All circling back to fucking ads. It fucking grinds my gears.
I mean, here's the thing: if it's like if you're trying to get something for free, then ads is usually the price you pay. If you're watching Twitch and you're watching a streamer that has monetized their channel and you're not subscribed to them, you're gonna watch ads. You're watching YouTube for free without paying for YouTube Premium, you're watching ads. It's not like very few things are ever truly like free. If you're not paying out of your pocket, you're paying by being exposed to the ad. That's just kind of how things work. Now, some sites are like a little more egregious than others. Like you talked about, like Fandom. If you ever go to their wikis, holy shit, goddamn, I hate going to I hate going to Fandom wikis. Those things bombard you with ads.
Right. A lot of blogs run ads. I mean, there's all kinds of sites that run ads that, and a lot of it's clickbait stuff. So, something really interesting to get you to click in there, and then you get bombarded with ads. Every page has some sort of running ad, and you get pop-up ads, and
That's the part that pisses me off, and it's not even like, again, like you said, you get suckered in by this clickbait shit. And you're like, God damn it! It's just annoying. And here's cheap views, basically. Demon Hunter basically it's just cheap views, man.
Welcome in, Demon Hunter.
Yeah, welcome in. It's easy to get, hook people in and get them to look at your content. And I honestly, I'm and I'm sure there have been studies on this, because this feels like, how do I put this, a widespread phenomenon. We're not just seeing it in the game industry, we're seeing it across all media. The whole ad revenue thing. And Greg, maybe you can speak a little bit more on this, as to the why.
It's free money.
What? Yeah, I get.
It's free money. I mean, that's the why. It's free money. And that's a lot of the like larger people who have a larger base. Okay, so I mean the idea of getting to be a paid entertainer, more or less paid for streaming of any type. Like some of the big YouTube channels, big Twitch channels, stuff like that. All of them. I mean, Rumble, they all have it.
Yes.
That's all you're doing is monetizing your audience. That's all you're doing. And it's a way of, in a sense, it's a way of allowing your audience to contribute to that, to your continued programming, putting the time and effort and energy into continuing to keep providing the service that you provide, without necessarily spending any money out of their own pocket. They don't subscribe or whatever that happens to be. Like for Twitch, you're a subscriber. There's every platform has a different way that you can support the content creators. And the ads is just one of those ways of doing it, and it's a way for the content creator to monetize their audience. So if you have a large audience, then yeah, you do some ads, and it I mean, you're going to get paid off of those ads. Yeah, it can be annoying to some folks. I mean, they don't really want to. They didn't come here to set through the whatever toilet paper ad or the whatever. Yeah. Nobody. Yeah. That's. I want to go see what's on the TV so I can see what new ads there are, type of thing. But it is a way of monetizing your audience, and for most content creators, I'm not going to fault them for doing that unless right, unless they're heavily excessive with it. And there are some that are. They're like, every 30 minutes there's an ad unless you subscribe to my channel, type of thing. They don't tell you
I hate
that, but
shit. I fucking can't stand that shit.
That's it's exactly the reason why. I mean, we could do that, but I mean, it's exactly the reason we didn't, is because we've talked quite a bit about this. We do not want to, deliberately monetize our audience, and we don't have a huge audience anyway. But I mean, so it wouldn't really be a big deal in that sense. But we just don't want to do that. It's from our standpoint is there's a different purpose behind what we do. We're not necessarily here to make a living off of streaming or anything like that. So if people, if our audience wants to support, fantastic. I mean, stuff's not cheap.
Are you going to say no?
Right. But, is it a requirement? No, not at all. What we just appreciate people being here and, interacting with us and actually absorbing the content we create. That's the...
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So
we
yeah,
like having you guys here. We like talking.
I wouldn't knock anybody that's running ads unless they're being excessive with it, because that, to me, there's an okay level of run the ads, make a little money off of it. There's a lot of people out there that just are looking for some entertainment, a cheap, easy entertainment through streaming, which is there, it's available. And for many reasons, I mean, if you were to subscribe to every YouTuber or Twitch channel that you occasionally watch, oh my God, what kind of monthly bill you'd have going on there.
Oh yeah, joke.
So
if I had infinite money, I'd do that.
It's a way to support the streamer. just to the streamer, don't abuse it. Don't abuse your audience. That's the...
Yeah, I mean. So speaking of audience, what so based off of kind of what we've been talking about, what sites do you guys go to? I mean, you're all assumably gamers of some form or another. What sites do you guys go to for things like guides or game information, stuff like that?
Gaming? Gaming? What's that?
Kirk, we all know. I've seen you on 7 Days to Die occasionally. I've seen you. You think you're slick? Seen you. See you pop on there. Although you probably pop on there and like walk away from your computer, just leave it sitting there half the time. I would imagine.
It's
I'll
a
admit,
good cool down game. I mean,
yeah, it's a good game. I've gone to like Polygon, I've gone to IGN, stuff like that over the years. Obviously, I haven't gone to Kotaku recently because, let's face it, I'm good. But I have in the past gone to Kotaku and kind of read some of their stuff, and some of the Harper Ring says it depends on the game. Okay, well, why don't you clarify that? Okay, IGN was a common one. Yeah, I think we've all been to IGN at one point or another.
Yeah, so it really does depend on the game and like what kind of info you're really looking for. Because like if you're looking, like if you're trying to look up info that's like set in the game, like this is what really exists. Like I'm going to give an example: Stardew Valley, fantastic game for anyone who's never played it. It's definitely a game that I've looked up a lot for like, when does X thing happen, or what do I need to do to get this next advancement, stuff like that. And I usually end up going to the wiki for that, since for stuff like that, wiki has a lot of good info. And unfortunately, if I recall right, the Stardew Valley wiki is on fucking Fandom, so I remember getting blasted with that shit.
Fandom. Yeah, you're right. They do post a lot of fucking ads.
Yeah, but like if playing a different game that is less like certain for the info you're looking like say playing Elden Ring or Monster Hunter, you want to look up a build.
Yeah,
you probably won't find that stuff on the wiki, because wikis are all about like, this is what's in the game, this is the info.
Mm-hmm. Lore wise, basically more lore to it.
Yeah, lore, or think like item info, etc.
Mm-hmm.
When you come looking up for builds, usually like forums, like find like a good Reddit or game
subreddits.
Sometimes you find a decent game fact. Like, find the people talking. I don't usually give too much notice to like when I see like a build guide on like say IGN or something like that. Usually by the time when I see that, it's usually pretty old and completely out of date. And in some cases, like when I know the game well, I look at that and it's like, that's really not. That's
not the way you should do it.
It's not great. And here's the thing, when it comes to making a build in a game, I'm fine if you're not min-maxing. I tend to go for some stupid shit myself sometimes. But like, if you're,
I've played games with this guy who does.
Yeah, but like, if you're gonna, like on the sites like IGN, like this is the best build if you want to do this. I'm like, not really. Yeah.
Well, that actually, I'm gonna hit on that for real quick. That is something though. That is true. If you're gonna put out information on a thing, don't fuck it. Don't be wrong. Don't be wrong.
I mean, eventually, if the game is still updating, eventually that info is going to become outdated. And here's the thing: rather than update, they probably want to put out a new article.
Yeah, probably.
Because that's another page out there. But that's also one thing you got to pay attention to a lot when looking up info, especially on something subjective that changes builds. It's like, how old is this?
What do you mean? If it's on the internet, it can't be wrong.
You are right about that. Nothing on the internet has ever been a lie.
No, not even the cake.
No.
Yeah, the cake was real. That.
I agree 100% with you. There's just and there's information overload too. But absolutely, I think that's a good sign of a healthy community around a game. Is when there's you can look up basically whatever you want to look up in a like some of the Fallout games. I mean, if you ever have
now.
Right, there's such a wealth of information out there on those. You don't even have to try to play that game any of them anymore. Like Fallout 4, I mean, you could literally walk your way through that game just by looking shit up on YouTube and watching the videos, because you can find where everything's at. Right. Right. So
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with playing the game that way. Because I mean, it's a single player game. Play through that thing however the
But
fuck
play
you
it
want.
however you want. Well, actually,
All
I'm going to
right,
say this:
right.
play any game however you want. You're the one who spent the money on the game. Play it how you want to play it.
I'm going to argue against that point in the case of multiplayer games because in a multiplayer game, you are fully capable of ruining the experience for other people. So, maybe put a few limits on how you want to play those games. But if it's a single player game, completely by yourself, do whatever the fuck you want. Get cheats, do whatever. I don't care.
I choose to try and find the stuff myself. That's and very rarely will I go and look something up, and usually it's because I've completely frustrated myself. And the oddity to it is I was probably right wherever it's at, and just for whatever reason I couldn't figure it out. So then I go look it up, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm a dummy. Thanks for telling me. All right, off I go.
I've done that. I've done that many times. Most of the time, I will try to figure it out myself first. But if I get like stuck or I'm like just getting impatient, it's like, okay, I'm not spending more time on this.
Yeah,
look it up. And sometimes it's just like it's like face palming moment. It's like, God damn it, I was right there.
I think we all have the same approach. We'll basically exhaust ourselves and then be like, all right, fine, I'm gonna see how dumb I am today.
Rob has once again allowed us to just completely derail the entire conversation.
This is part of the conversation.
it is.
It's in the wheelhouse. It's where people get their information from and stuff like that.
Well, unfortunately, here's the reason why I say it's part of the conversation, Greg. Because unfortunately, that's what a lot of these sites are switching to. I mean, Kotaku, which early on, Kotaku was one of the biggest sources of news within the industry, bar none. It was right up there with IGN, PC Gamer, all the heavy hitters. Kotaku was right up there with them, and now they're switching primarily to game guides, and they're not the only ones doing that. But here's also the problem that's bringing up for us as the consumer. These sites like IGN, Kotaku, PC Gamer, Eurogamer, Rock Paper Shotgun, these were the sites that we went to dig more into the industry, dig more into the games that are coming out, the people that are making those games. That's on the consumer side. On the journalism side, a lot of those folks that got let go from that the studios that got acquired, a lot of those folks that are there for 10, 15 years were actually putting out genuine news, and they had contacts within the industry at these various companies. I mean, how do you think we found out about the OGL situation? Someone had a contact inside of WotC, and that person reached out to them. That's how all of this gets out. That's how we as a consumer get informed of shady practices. Blatant. I mean, we'll poke at Blizzard Activision. Blatant law breaking is through these journalists who are doing the work, but they're not being rewarded for that work anymore. Now it's, well, go make a game guide, go make this article that has a sensationalized heading, so we can get some throughput traffic for our ads. That's what it's turning into.
Start a Twitch stream.
Start a Twitch stream. Start a Twitch stream. Make a TikTok. You know what I mean? Like that. That's what it's devolving into, and it for me, it's concerning. Both as a gamer, as a consumer, as someone in the industry, I want to know what the hell's going on. And I feel like a lot of the community on the consumer side now wants to be more involved and know what's going on with the companies of the products that they consume. Because we're seeing all kinds of shit come out, but with with conglomeration and these corporations grabbing up all these outlets, these news outlets, essentially, but for lack of a better way to put them. Well, now the information gets controlled. And again, I'm not trying to put on a tinfoil hat or none of that. Like, we can all agree that that's probably what's going to be happening.
I think we all see that. We all see that. We all see what is happening in that sense. And there's a lot of question around the why. And there's gaming has, okay, you look at the life of this thing from the beginning of the internet to where we are now. And I've seen all of that, and it's grown to be a very large, robust industry. It's very competitive. But from a consumer standpoint, I mean, these are the things that we love these things. This is part of our lives, part of our source of entertainment. We look forward to the titles that we really engage with coming out. A lot of people actually are actively looking for, okay, what's next, which is fantastic. And we also can see what is going on in the industry when you start to see titles that there's a lot of older games that I really like, but you start to see these titles go away, or you see some of these titles that are remade, and okay, well, I kind of want to know what's going on. I want to know about the next thing that's coming. I want to have at least a bird's eye view of it, a little bit of insight. I know that certain studios create games that I really like, or that I absolutely love. So if something's going to happen to that studio, I want to know about that. I don't want to be caught flat-footed 2-3 years from now looking around for, okay, when's the next game coming from this studio, or when's the next sequel to this game that I really like, or is there going to be one? And we've all been in this position where, okay, you wait, and then finally you're like, okay, I'm going to just go look and see, is there anything...
What's going on? Yeah.
Right, what's happening here? And you go out there and look, and you find out the worst possible news. There's no more.
Studio's been closed for years.
It's done.
or they're not making they're not making a sequel to the game.
Right.
That's how Deus Ex fans feel.
Right. not a reference, not in the gaming industry, but a perfect reference of this happening is Firefly.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm still fucking mad about that. Still mad about that.
I never watched it, but I definitely know it has a status as a cult classic.
Kick him off.
People that loved it fucking loved
Turn him off. Hasn't watched Firefly. Get out of here, man.
I don't control that, Greg. But I'm gonna get Matt to watch it. First of all, for those of you who have never watched Firefly,
it is good.
Go watch it. You will thank me later. One of the best shows.
You now, I'm immune to peer pressure. I never watched a single episode of Game of Thrones.
He really is.
Even before the end happened, that turned a lot of people off. When it was at the height of its glory, everyone was like, talking about it. I still didn't watch that shit. Okay.
I'll tell you this, because I read the books before the series. Well, at least the ones that were out before the series started.
Yeah.
Same. You didn't miss anything.
You didn't miss shit. No, you didn't. The book's way better. But I will say that, Matt, I'm gonna get you to watch Firefly, not as peer pressure, but because I think you would love it. It's a really good show, and it definitely got killed off way before its time. I mean, it's one of the only shows in my memory that has canceled as a show, came back as a movie, and did just as fucking well. And the movie was great. Serenity was one of the best. One of my favorite movies. Everybody was perfectly, and I mean perfectly cast. Every single person, from the main cast to the villains, everyone was perfectly cast. And I know this is a tangent. For those of you listening, go watch Firefly if you've never seen it, please. That said, I agree with you, Greg. Like I think because of how big the internet has gotten, because of how many different communities have developed. I mean, you have Reddit, all the subreddits, you have Tumblr, and you have all these different outlets that people can share information. It's become easier for folks to get that information, but it seems like for the quote unquote official outlets, we're going back to the gaming industry, IGN, Kotaku, Gizmodo, all those sites that we've gone to at times, that they're paling in comparison to like the offshoots or the word of mouth basically, I feel like the word of mouth has become the new kind of official news. Like you
Yeah.
can trust that before you trust an official article coming from, IGN or some shit. Official article coming from IGN or some shit.
Yeah, it's a matter of trust, and it's like
Yeah,
I'm gonna trust like
yeah,
a real person that I can see before I trust like the company IGN and stuff like that. Because IGN, it's a big enough company to where it has connections in the industry, and they can use that to get some news, but they're also swayed by those connections as well, which may paint the way that they present certain information. I mean, there's reason why IGN, Kotaku, or a lot of these journalist sites have put out certain articles that have had a lot of people going like, "The fuck are you talking about?" Like trying to maybe place certain things down, shift attention, stuff like that. And so a lot of times people got tired of that, so you go to your Twitch streamer or your YouTuber who don't have those same type of connections to sway them, so they're much more free to speak what they really think.
they're honest. Which
Well, hold on,
I
hold
mean,
on.
granted, some do have their own. I'm not going to say all of them are completely trustworthy. Some do have their own,
agendas.
I guess you could say, agendas, but for the most part, like when you find one that you like and seems to kind of like speak things, I don't want to say as they are, but like speak candidly, I guess. That's kind of like it's what I like to see. It's less like ultra filtered, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like I'm giving my info from an actual human being and not a.
Right.
I mean, I know that a lot of those articles are written by human
content.
beings. I mean, here's the thing: a lot of those articles are written by human beings, but obviously they've gone through like it's been filtered for that kind of company cleanliness, I guess you'd say, in a lot of cases, and it just doesn't feel as like personal. I don't know.
Doesn't feel as authentic. I think for me,
Yeah.
I guess that's the way I'm going to put it. Doesn't feel
Yeah,
as authentic.
authenticity is a part of
Yeah. Which is a real shame, man. Because so I don't know if you guys remember this. And I'm talking to the audience as well, but I remember back in the day when PC Gamer was a when you had to actually buy the magazine.
Yep. And it
PC
used to years ago. It used to come in a sealed package, and
Yep.
they would
have a subscription, a yearly subscription to it.
right.
Too. Yep.
And the I think the quarterly, not like the monthly, but I think the quarterly ones would come with like some indie games and stuff like that, a CD-ROM in it, where you could try out.
Remember those days, man? Those are some good fucking days. Because you got to hear about all the game news coming out, stuff like that. PC Gamer, man, what happened to you? What happened?
The internet.
Yeah, the internet happened. That's true.
Yeah, the internet.
The internet and ad revenue.
Pretty much.
Here's another point to kind of keep us on track here. The whole thing with ad revenue and all that. Google is not helping the situation either. Like their whole algorithm and stuff like that is specifically curated in a way that it's pushing those sites that are basically all the ad revenues circling back to Google. On any of the sites that we visit, that's all circling back to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh yeah, because you use their search engine to look things up, and
that's how they make their money. How they make their money.
As well.
Here we thought they made their money being a tech company. I
mean, they do lots of things. It's Google. They're huge. There's more than one way they make their money.
They make their money more off ads than anything else, because let's face it, their tech is trash.
Advertising is one of the largest businesses in the world. Obviously, behind the military-industrial complex, banking and financial institutions, but advertising is one of the largest industries in the world. And there's a lot of money that's spent to influence people's habits. It's a fact of life at this point. So there's that argument that's out there that, especially for a platform like Google, which was, or even like Yahoo and all those platforms that have search engines attached to them, they, their entire structure was ad revenue and advertising. So I mean, there's several different revenue streams going into those, but I mean, the big one is definitely ad revenue, and that's because they have. You got, look at your reach. I mean, look at the audience that you're able to, how many million people every, and I'm not even talking day, I'm talking every minute that you're able to potentially be in front of. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly, it's mind-boggling. Just
the key,
how vast
the key to sales is numbers,
become.
man. The key to sales is numbers. Simply that. You can't expect, or even, if you expect to sell and when I'm saying sell, I mean influence. If you expect to influence every single person that you come across, then you're gonna have a really rough time building any type of brand or any type of sales at all. You've got to look at the numbers. It's got to be about reach. The more people you can reach, the more growth you'll get. Simple as that.
And again, like you said, I mean, Greg, I appreciate your commentary, because you always put it in perspective, from a business standpoint. Because from a business standpoint, you can't logically fault these companies for moving in this direction, because it's the direction that's going to make them the most money.
Mm-hmm.
As a business, that's what they got to do.
I guess the unfortunate thing is that the best business decision and the best, like, I want to say moral decision, as subjective as that is,
I guess the best consumer
do not always align.
Yeah. But I guess that that's each company to decide for themselves, kind of where they want to stand on that particular ledge.
I remember a time when ads were somewhat entertaining.
That's another thing, right? Right. When ads were, I actually liked watching ads. We all watch those commercials and shit, which are just fucking ads. Like, I thought that there were some ads that were cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now
there's some ads
trash.
that are legendary. The fucking, what was it? 1-800 contacts or something like that. It's like, I have special eyes. Look with their special eyes. My brand.
Yeah.
Like that shit. That shit will live on.
Commercial. Love the Clear Eyes commercial. And I never used contacts. I love the Clear Eyes commercial.
Old Spice, man. Come on.
Old Spice, yeah. The Verizon guy.
What about the California raisins? I mean,
I fucking hate raisins, so I don't care about raisins.
Well, but I mean, the commercials were, back in the late '80s, early '90s. Those commercials they were pretty cool.
Yeah, all the cereal commercials, man.
Nowadays, you kind of gotta wait for the Super Bowl to see if there are any good ads.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the past several years, how have those been? I haven't heard anything from usually when they're good ads at the Super Bowl, several years ago, that should make rounds on the internet.
No, they've been shitty.
I haven't seen anything lately.
That should tell you something, Matt.
Past couple of years. That's unfortunate, because I'm not a football fan, but that was the one thing I look forward to each.
Matt watches football for the ads. See?
I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised.
Listen, it's a bit of a tangent, but I just don't enjoy watching football. I've been to several football games in person. My dad is a big football fan, but it's I don't know. In my point of view, it's just I watch them play for 5 seconds, and then they break for a couple minutes as they set up the next play and stuff like that. The amount of time I spend there watching something actually happen is actually very low. I'm watching American football.
European football. Yeah.
It's the competitive nature of it, and it is. It's the competitive nature of it, in which I argue. There's some argument there about just exactly how competitive professional sports is anymore. It is, but And then there's also, you know, what is our you know, all of our cultures are built around these things. Yeah, I don't want to go into a history lesson or anything like that, but I mean, you really look at it. I mean, those all the way back to gladiator events, and even before that, the you know, testing against one another and being able to live vicariously through those athletes, essentially, for people who are maybe
it's
not
also
that.
entertainment.
It's always been a thing.
Yeah.
So that was now since we're done with that tangent.
I'm not a 300-pound linebacker, so I like to see the 300-pound linebackers just drive people into the dirt because I know I can't do that. So
Same. Matt, how about you take us to our next topic of the new Assassin's Creed Shadow and what EA is doing with that shit. The fuckery
Ubisoft.
continues, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Ubisoft. You know, we got the next Assassin's Creed game. Assassin's Creed is like Ubisoft's own Call of Duty. You know, they come out with an installment like every year, pretty much. So
Not every year, but
almost every year.
Often.
Look, if you ever look at a list of all Assassin's Creed games, that's a long list, man.
There are a couple.
But anyway, yeah. So this time it's set in Japan, and there's a couple things people are talking about. One is there's like two different sides of this. I don't know which one you want to tackle first, because there's the talk about one of the main characters, and there's talk about the fucking business practices, which I think is the far more important thing people aren't paying enough attention to.
Yeah, let's talk about the protagonist piece there, because I think that's an interesting arguing point for a lot of people. And normally I'd kind of be on I guess particular side of that line, but I think here they missed the mark. So let's talk about that.
Okay, so in Assassin's Creed Shadows, it is set in Japan, but one of the main characters, because you have two characters you play, is a black samurai, African American, and that he would be Afro.
You would just be
African. Not African. Japanese. Sorry, I'm so used to
saying African American.
Whatever.
He would just be African.
No. You're right.
he was a colored fella.
Yeah.
So, it really was actually.
So, unsurprisingly, that got a lot of people up in arms, because people saying they put like an African where they shouldn't be. But here's the thing about that is that there is actually historical context for a black samurai in Japan. His name was Yasuke. Yeah. And that's exactly who you'd be playing in Assassin's Creed Shadows. That very same historical figure. And I get Ubisoft, maybe not always look to them for historical accuracy ever since they brought aliens, gods, whatever the fuck those things were in Assassin's Creed 2, But, I'd say this is a pretty interesting way of handling it. Because, I think the thing a lot of people are crying about are like the way a lot of games try to force a diversity bit in there. But here's the thing about that. Because, you can probably tell, that's probably why they chose this character. But at the same time, this is, I think, probably one of the more interesting ways to do it. Because it has a historical context, and so it makes sense. We've talked about this before when it comes to this, I think. We don't like it when it's forced. It doesn't make sense, but we want things done right. And I think this is very much the way of doing it right. Where you can have that bit of diversity in a Japanese setting, which, Japan...
But all their
especially
other
time then is
all
not
their other
a very
games,
diverse place.
But all their other games are racially specific to the area. So why not this one?
There's an argument there, but
and they're obviously not historically accurate. There's some historical accuracy, or I should say historical reference in their games. But
Yeah.
I mean, so
I mean, here's the thing. Again, like, yeah, we can tell that it's pretty obvious that they did this for the diversity bit, but I don't. That's not bad in of itself when they find an interesting way to implement it, because this is like an actual historical figure. There is a actual reason why there would be an African man in this Japanese setting. You know, like
is
feudal
that?
Japan.
But hold on, is that saying that there's not actual historical figures that could have been used for any of the other games?
No, there certainly could have been.
Okay, so then why is this relevant in this case?
Because it's showing that they didn't just ham fist an African as the main character in this Japanese setting.
Yeah, okay, kind of.
I think it makes sense.
I'm really not arguing against having that character in the game. I do, you know, there are some question marks there that why now do you make that kind of move? Because, you know, when you really go back into look at the games themselves, you know, the historical accuracy argument is obviously out because that's not, you know, I would not go to them for historical accuracy. But there are historical references, and some of those are fairly accurate. But then, you know, look at all the other Assassin's Creed games. They make this game that's supposed to be specific to the Orient and specific to Japan. All the other games that are specific to a particular area. I mean, if they're in Venice, then they've got Venetians or Italian people as your characters. Spain, Spanish, you know. And you come to Japan and suddenly you have an African. And I'm not arguing against having this guy. I mean, he is, you know, the fact of it is there is an actual person out there that I think the story is extremely interesting, but why now in this game? And, you know, and that's the argument that's out there on the net right now.
Yeah. Rob, I think you might be muted. He's not coming through right now. But yeah, I mean, again, as I said before, it's definitely they're hitting that diversity bit, but it doesn't feel like it's a completely forced scenario of it, where this does have a precedent for existing and it makes sense.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. And yeah, I was just gonna say that, Matt. Like, of all the DEI stuff that we've seen in the industry lately, and again, we've covered this a number of times here on the channel. The three of us, as creators, as folks who are building our own game, we could care less what you look like, the color of your skin, doesn't matter. Especially when it comes to the game. I definitely don't give a shit about what my characters look like as long as they fit the freaking the story that's being built. But personally, you know, and I would even argue from a company standpoint, we just don't give a shit. We want to tell good stories. And unfortunately, a lot of those diversity inclusion pushes have ended with stories that suffered because of just flat out bad writing, and they were trying to make the you know, either the sex of the character or the color of their skin the entire foundation of the story, or something close to that, and it just falls flat, as it should, because that doesn't matter unless that is literally the premise of the story. At the end of the day, that doesn't fucking matter. Now, circling back to Assassin's Creed Shadow, this I think is one of the less prominent moves. Is it an inclusivity piece? Honestly, I'm going to call it and say yes. It probably fucking is. But again, there is a character in history or a person in history whose name was Yasuke, and it could end up being very well. And honestly, I think for this side of the argument, we're going to get to the other side of this particular argument in a second. But for this side of the argument, I'm willing to see how the narrative is going to progress, and I think that's one of the two pieces that people are worried about. Is, well, okay, you have this African samurai who it has historical precedent.
Mhm.
Cool. It could very well be actually the person of Yasuke that you're playing in this game. I don't know if it's been
Yep.
confirmed or not.
No, I'm pretty sure it is.
It is okay.
Like,
So
that's exactly
you're
what
playing
it is.
Yasuke,
Yes.
who has like he existed, like he was a real samurai. You can look him up.
That's another point that's questionable, though, the samurai piece.
Well, true. So the reason why it's in question is because Yasuke was made a samurai, assumably because he was a retainer for Oda Nobunaga, which is, I mean, we all know who the fuck that is. Maybe not in detail, but I'm pretty sure everybody here can recognize the name. He was one of the warlords of Japan, did a whole bunch of stuff, was really, I mean, you could have called him a very progressive individual, especially for that time.
There's a whole series of video games. As a matter of fact, the very first Total War game was based off of the story of, loosely based off the story of Oda Nobunaga's ambition.
Yeah.
The Warring States period
was
honestly a crazy fucking era of Japan's history. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was. But back to what I was saying, the two pieces for me personally, and I think for a lot of people, based on kind of me digging into what people have to say about the game, is there's two things. We haven't seen any of the gameplay footage. The only thing we have right now is the trailer. We haven't seen any of the gameplay footage of the game at all at this point. So that's a concern. That's a big concern for a lot of people, especially because they're charging for the base game 70 bones, full box price. We ain't seen none of the content. That's
Whenever I see a trailer,
I want to see some gameplay.
Zero gameplay. That always makes me super suspicious, because that makes me think of, like, why they choose not to show gameplay.
Yeah, it's like, what are they trying to hide here? What
like,
they telling us?
That to me, if they don't show any gameplay, but as it gets closer to launch, I mean, they're already accepting pre-orders and shit, but if we don't see
another
any
thing.
gameplay
We're gonna get into
launch, then that's a big a big
flag.
red flag to me, because that just means that they know people won't like
what they see
to see the gameplay.
Yeah, so that's a big issue.
So, maybe in a future trailer we'll see. Hopefully, maybe. But right now they chose not to show anything.
Another issue that's being talked about a bit is the narrative. You have a character, again. You have Yasuke. You have this other protagonist, which is a female shinobi. Can't remember the character's name. It was mentioned, but I can't remember her name. Mentioned. So you get to play. You get to play the game from two different points of view, as a female shinobi, and as Yasuke the samurai.
Like a combat focused character and then a stealth focused character.
Yeah.
Where obviously, like, the assassin part of Assassin's Creed is going to come from a shinobi character.
Yeah, but another concern is the narrative piece. Narrative from at least in my opinion, from two different standpoints, meaning the narrative of the game as a whole. Is it going to be a good game? And then the narrative of, well, you have an African, character in Japan. How are you going to write him? Is it going to be some token bullshit, or are you going to actually write a good story and present this character as a good character that's going to help the narrative move forward, or it's just going to be a token ass fucking character? So that's a fucking concern. And then let's be honest here, guys. In case you forgot, remember, Ubisoft is the same company that created Skull and Bones. Quadruple A game. Utter garbage.
Yeah,
I just remembered that. I was like, wait.
How could a quadruple A game be utter garbage? Come on now.
It's utter
Yeah.
fucking
I mean,
trash.
faith in Ubisoft isn't really high at the moment.
And it's EA too. It's Ubisoft and EA.
Wait, is
Is
EA
it?
involved in that?
Oh wait, no, is it? No, never mind.
No,
Scratch that. I was
EA's.
incorrect.
Yeah, no,
I
EA's
think
a
I was
completely different company.
thinking about something else. Sorry, there's so many freaking
the
wacko companies
the
out there
point
these
the
days.
point that you just brought up is there's a huge challenge in that centered around cognitive bias, because it does bear potential to be very bad.
What do you mean? Oh,
Right. The bias are centering around that character.
Oh yeah.
My hope is that it is really good story, and that it doesn't carry any of the social biases, either past
really hope
or
not.
present.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
well,
Yeah.
Here's the thing: the biases of the past. So basically,
there may be some social bias of having that person in, if anybody's ever been
in
exposed
that period of time.
Well, and
Exactly,
in
that's
that
what I'm
area of the world, because
exactly.
I mean, the Japanese culture is very different, and the Japanese people are very different. Good, awesome, but they have a, if you were to compare one to the other and look at, like, okay, U.S., Japan has a culture. We have many, so we don't really have a culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because Japan as a country was isolated for a very long time, which is why a lot of people didn't even know that, like, that Yasuke was a real person. So, like,
which is
a lot of
ironic
people, when they
because it's in
see
a lot
this
of
character,
references.
they think it's historically inaccurate, and it's like, no, actually,
it's
this is a real thing here.
Yeah, no, it's
a
historically
lot
accurate,
of
and they're
a lot of the people, like, I'd say, like, a good portion of people screaming about that just genuinely didn't know that this was an actual thing.
Yeah, because there have been a lot of references. If you ever watched Afro Samurai, there's been tons of references to the character of Yasuke in a lot of modern media. But I agree with you, Greg. If I don't want to see any of the current social agenda, social bias, and all that bullshit in there. However, I do expect and hope to see accurate representation of the social dynamic of the time based on the character.
Right.
Because that would be accurate, and I'm gonna come out and say it, to see characters being racist towards him at the time, like, that would be fucking accurate. That would be good storytelling, good writing, and how you've experienced that and overcome it. Because don't get it twisted, if he was a samurai, and again, there's differing accounts, both official and non-official, of was Yasuke an actual samurai, or was he just a retainer of Nobunaga's? But there's reasons for that, because the samurai caste, they held a lot of sway in ancient Japan. So if he was samurai, that'll should skew the storytelling piece, because you didn't just mess with it, like, unless you were another samurai, and sometimes not even then, because there were degrees there too. You didn't step on their toes, you didn't disrespect them, or you weren't going to be alive very long. So again, I agree. Like, I hope that they take the character, they do the character justice, and they just write him and the story well. So enough of that commentary. Let's switch to the other side of this and talk about the business and the pricing and the bullshit that is fucking Ubisoft. Matt, take it away.
This is the part that I think people really should be talking about.
Yeah.
The thing with the main character, who the fuck cares? I think that, it may be an inclusivity bit, but I think it's done in a more natural way than you might see in other places. So, you know what? I'll as a concept, again, we don't know what it's going to look like in the actual story yet, but as a concept, I'll give that a thumbs up. Okay, let's go. But the business part of it, so obviously, like a lot of Ubisoft stuff, you got pre-orders, you got these, the special editions and shit. But I think the thing there's a couple of things about this, like, whole, like, range of options that Ubisoft is offering that's got people a little annoyed. For one thing, there's this is probably the lighter part, but still a bit annoying. Where if you pre-order it, you can play the game 3 days earlier than everybody else, which is a little weird. That's also another way of saying if you're just trying to buy the game normally, you're playing the game late compared to folks who pre-ordered, because the game is out at that point.
If you're
build, the pre-orders are built or buying.
If you're a game streamer, that might have some real value.
Exactly, and that's probably like games, like streamers and reviewers and stuff. Like that's what they're doing that for. They're trying to get those sales. And the thing that I hate is that like pre-orders don't do any service to the customer. After all, why would you buy a game before like you know if it's even good or not, or like see what the game is like? Like you're pretty much doing that purely based off the advertising. And I mean, as we can see so far in their advertising, they haven't showed any gameplay. So like, I hate pre-ordering. Honestly, it's something that only benefits the company and does not benefit the customer whatsoever. Which is why they try to put small bonuses and stuff in it to try to make it appealing to people. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that they actually have content that is in the game, quests and stuff, locked behind some of these special editions, going up to like $130. So, Reddit, I don't know how extensive this content is, but it's essentially saying, hey, you're going to buy the game for $70? That's not even the full game, bro. You're not even getting the full game there. Like, usually when it comes to like special editions, that usually involves like a season pass for like DLC and expansions. Which even then, I don't like that because it's the same. It's like pre-ordering DLC. You don't know what it's going to be like, and any of that, but you're paying for it now. But I don't know. Maybe it's like, honestly, a lot of this is like stuff we've seen a lot of before, but it keeps getting like pushed up slightly more each year, especially with Ubisoft. And
and it's
a lot of people are reaching. I think a lot of people are reaching like a boiling point for like. That's why there's so much talk about it. Like people are getting like tired of it because it's like, especially when you're paying $70 instead of $60. Like, why am I not getting the full base game?
Yeah, and and here's the thing.
Why is their content locked off of me because I didn't pay what $130 or like $60 more dollars?
Yep, $130. And here's the thing: you only get that I'm pretty sure you only get the freaking the special quest if you pre-order it. Meaning you'll pay $70 after the fact. You won't get that quest. And I could be wrong, so please take that with a grain of salt. But I'm pretty sure I'm not. That bonus quest you only get if you fucking pre-order it. So you have to buy something that you're not 100% sure of because we haven't seen any freaking gameplay for it. And if you don't buy it ahead of time, you don't get content.
Well, you don't get that content.
That's still fucking content I'm paying for, goddammit.
Well, no, you're not.
Shit.
No, you're not.
If
you pay the $130, then yeah, you paid for that content. There's a totally opposite side to this whole thing, and you know, it just depends on where you're arguing it from. And you have early adopters that you know, for different reasons want to support the game for different reasons. And again, you know, the people who are, you know, this is what they do. They get these games and they run through them as fast as they can so they can get that content out there. YouTubers, Twitch streamers, game streamers, people who write guides, people who, you know, do all those things. I mean, those people are more apt to pay an extra $60 to get that additional content. Why? Because it's something special that they get, one, for pre-ordering, two, for paying the extra money. So here's the thing: if you really want that content, now take the, you create an argument to support what it is that you want to have happen. What you want to have happen is you want to be able to get all the things for the same price as everybody else. Okay? Understood. But now take that argument out and set it aside. Do you want to pay 130 bucks?
130 bones, yeah.
I
Yes
think
or-
that's their most expensive dish.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think it goes like 70, 90,
yes or no? Do you want to pay 130 bucks for the extra content?
Oh, fuck no. Hell no.
Okay, then you don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's fair. That's fair.
And look at Kickstarter on anything, even on products similar to what we produce. I mean, you get all those bonus categories for the early adopters, and depending on what level in the funding you get to, you get all these things. Well, the only way you can get those things and get those things at that price is to join the Kickstarter. That's it. Otherwise, if you're lucky, you'll be able to get those things at full price after the Kickstarter's done, or there's usually content in there that is only introduced with the Kickstarter, and if you're not part of the Kickstarter, you just don't get that content. So I don't see a problem with that piece to it, is what I'm getting at. I don't. I mean, okay. I understand the argument behind it, but I don't think that's the only real the legitimate argument that's being made here is that I'm gonna wait until it comes out because that's when it's the cheapest in this scenario, and I'm gonna pay my $60, and I think I should get all the things that the people who pre-ordered got it. Well, that's the benefit of pre-ordering, is that you get those things. So if you want those things, then pre-order the content.
That is a fair kind of argument. But from my stance, I personally don't agree in pre-order. I don't. I honestly, and the reason why is because we've seen it time and again where folks have pre-ordered games and the games have been not what was promised. And too often, and especially nowadays, we're seeing pre-orders being heavily pushed, and I personally think that's detrimental to the industry, and it's for the reasons that how do I put this and not sound like an asshole? I guess the simplest way I can put it is you're often not getting what you're paying for. You're really not. It's oftentimes a lot of these pieces come in underwhelming. They're oftentimes studios will play on either their past successes, because I'm not going to sit here and say studios turn out trash. Some of them do, but some of them, they'll put out some good games and they'll garner on that, that name that they've built for themselves, and they they put out a flop. They put out a flop. I mean, a perfect example of that is CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2077. As much as I didn't have any issues with the game day one, but there were tons of people who did, and looking back on it, the game was missing features as promised, but people bought into CDPR and their reputation, and then the advertising for the game, and were given something that was lukewarm.
Oh yeah.
But again, everyone do with what your money and the information that you get as you will. So if you want to pre-order. But me personally, I don't believe pre-orders and pre-order bonuses and all that shit that comes with it is good for the industry. It's just allowing studios to, in my opinion, give you really a whole lot of nothing for a whole lot of fucking money.
Yeah, I mean, here's
personally.
It's good for the business because, I mean, imagine being able to get money for your product before your product is even out.
I mean, and that's why
fantastic.
They do it. And again, I'm not knocking that aspect.
Yeah, but for a customer, like, you're paying money before you even really know what you're paying for in a way. So like,
I agree with
it's
you.
great for the business, but I think for the customer, you're pre-ordering based on faith, pretty much, because you don't. All you know about what you're spending your money on when you pre-order is just trailers and your belief in that studio / company / whatever.
And Infinity Core, you are correct. It depends on the pre-order. It depends on and how much it is. I agree. But spending $130, nah, I'm good.
I don't have any issue with sounding like an asshole because that's my job on this show. So
you are correct. Right?
But I think the argument boils right down to, it's you feel like you're getting ripped off because you don't think you're getting the whole package for the lesser amount. That's what that comes to. That's what the argument sounds like to me. Is that you want to pay your $60 when it comes out and you want to get all of it. So you want to take away what the company has set up as a bonus for pre-ordering this product. And I get that, I think there should be some idea of what the hell you're getting. I mean, that's bad. I agree 100% with that.
I will say for me that's it right there. It's not the pre-order stuff. I mean, they're nice shiny things. A lot of it,
right?
It's cosmetic. It's cool. If you want to spend the money to get that, that's fine. For me, primarily, it's what you just said. It's I don't know what the fuck I'm getting yet.
Here's what would be crappy is if they came out a year from now and then just decided to sell that additional content that the pre-order people got for an additional $60. That would be crappy.
Well, here's the thing. Studios are doing that.
No, I know that. I know that. I know they are. I know they are.
Studios are doing it. And that's the shit right there. That's why I fucking hate that.
But that's
pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, and
but that's what you should be that's where you should be calling them out, not on the pre-order side to it. Call them out on the bullshit that they. Okay, I'm gonna pick on ESO for a moment here because they're horrible with this whole thing, and turning and monetizing everything. And that's
nickel and diamond.
I hate that. Your game just basically becomes all about money at a certain point, and that's you want to kill the game. That's where you kill the game. You get to the point where you decide, okay, now it's the cash grab time, and that's the life cycle of the game. You build until you get to where you believe your peak audience is. Okay, it can't go any further. Now we got to get all our money out of our profit on the back end, get all the money out of it, and suddenly the monetization, microtransactions from hell start. Some do it right away. There's some, studios that just hammer you right off the bat. You're gonna pay $1 for your reload or whatever the hell that one was.
Good old EA.
Yeah. That I absolutely agree with you on. If you think you're getting ripped off there, you're absolutely right. And the people who did the pre-ordering are the ones who are getting the biggest pain, because that was supposed to be something special for you pre-ordering the game, and here a year later it's just a regular market item. I mean, there's nothing special about it, is what they're telling you. So yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit.
That's essentially what ends up happening. That's honestly, and again, I know that's the point that you brought. The reason why you brought up that, because that's typically what happens, is it gets resold kind of later on down the line as an addition, and it's like what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's and again, I'm hoping the Assassin's Creed Shadow is good. I hope that it is good. One of the other pricing models, I don't know if you mentioned it, Matt, was the subscription, Ubisoft Plus, that you can get the game. You not only can you get the game, but you get the deluxe edition for the game with Ubisoft Plus, $17.99.
I haven't looked too much into the subscription piece. But that also would mean that if you canceled your subscription, you wouldn't have the game
anymore. Exactly.
I
mean, it's like a Games Pass type thing, but
yeah,
just in the Ubisoft ecosystem. Where it's like, yeah, you have the game, you have access to the game in I think a lot of other games might have a subscription, but once your subscription is gone, you no
Bye
longer
bye
have
game.
access to any of the games. Yeah, bye-bye games.
And
Well,
that's
and
another.
that's
Go ahead,
that's
Greg.
where the real profit's at for the business. I mean,
Yep.
you want to get into that because now you've just taken this game that's $60 off the shelf, and with the average length, and last time I looked at that, I think the average length was like 16 or 18 months for subscribers. And I know there's
I
a lot
think
of
so,
people
yeah.
that have been way longer than that, but the average is like 16 to 18 month once you start your subscription. And a lot of times it ends up just being 2 years. But now you just took that, you take that $17 and suddenly you've just taken a game that sells for $60 and you've just sold it for over 300. You just have to get your money in chunks.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, I mean you're not wrong, and that's also part of the concern for us as consumers is that's the direction that the industry is moving to.
I
That's the
mean,
direction that.
here's the thing. I don't think things are going to go fully in that direction because we talked about this the other week in the case of Microsoft.
Yeah.
Games, the biggest example we have of this type of business model is stagnating.
Well,
It's
one of the big
it's not
PlayStation
growing.
Network, I guess.
It's a
Yeah, you're right.
and it's stagnating. So I don't think this type of thing is going to become the norm. I do think that people, buying the game is going to continue to be the norm, while the subscription piece it's going to stay around. I don't think it's going to fully die off, but it's just going to be an option.
Honestly, I see the point. But I honestly, I don't put it past a lot of folks in the business to kind of see what Greg has pointed out and be like, how can we do that? How we can turn this $130 game into a $300 game via a long-term subscription.
I think
People are already
subscription.
turning like $60 games into $130 games. Like they a lot of big companies pretend as if the price of games hasn't gone up. But if you have a $60 version of your game that is missing some things that are part of the game from the start that you would pay like more extra money for, is what you have really the base game, or is it a lesser version of the game that you're paying $60 for? While the actual base version that has what is there from the start is at that higher price point. That's the real price of the game right there.
That's fair.
I want to tell you guys a little story, and it's what I see potentially happening, and it's purely my opinion, but it's a story that started out in like the 70s, actually earlier than that, but it was a company called Illinois Bell, and Illinois Bell dominated the telecommunications market, and at that point telecommunications was telephone and just being able to call people.
I know about these.
Okay.
I know about this.
So, well, but my story is a little different than what you think, because it used to be that you owned your telephone. You could go to the local Sears store or even your hardware store uptown. At that point, Walmart wasn't necessarily such a big deal, so you didn't see a lot of Walmart's, Targets, and all that stuff. You seen your general store or maybe a little general goods store, or you'd go to pull out your Sears catalog and you'd order a telephone, dial-up telephone.
Shit, I remember.
And you owned that telephone. That telephone cost you maybe $10. That's for a nice one. And then you would hook up to, you'd call the telephone company and you'd hook up to the telephone service, and you owned your phone. So you just paid for the service of being able to, pick up that phone and make a phone call, and they'd issue you a number, and, everybody had a phone number and telephone book and all that stuff. And that would cost you maybe, $15 a month. Maybe. There were cheaper plans and there were more expensive plans. But nothing like there are today. Now, you take that snapshot of what that looked like, and then fast forward from there to where we are now. $1,000 for a new phone is considered cheap. cell phone plans are running anywhere from 150 all the way up to $600-700 a month, depending on how many phones you got on there. And every one of them is backed by a contract, so you have to sign a contract to. Well, we'll give you a free phone, which is a bunch of bullshit, but yeah, okay, free phone in the fact that you're paying for it in the contract, free phone. And this big service fee for having the ability to use the internet, more or less, for telecommunications purposes. So why, looking at that business model and how well that worked and how much money companies like Apple, Microsoft, all the big telephone companies have, the telecommunications companies, looking at how much money they've made, why wouldn't this industry start to move in that same direction? Because it's hugely profitable and they have a much larger degree of control over the marketplace with that business model.
I mean, they're already doing that right now. That's why we've been seeing the recent issues about game ownership, whether or not we really own the games that people like Ubisoft or Sony are trying to move in on.
So now the next thing is you can barely find anything that's a hard copy of a game. You're downloading all of it, which means they already have that leverage, that piece of control. So what is going to stop these games from going to a subscription base? All of them. And even small studios that are producing games going to, you gotta, you want to use our games, you pay, your $4 a month. Or maybe you get a package deal with something like Microsoft where you pay your $17 a month. You already see it with the Xbox and the Sony PlayStation platforms. Here's, and talking about it, slowing down or stagnating right now. And what else is going on? People don't have free money. It's not like we have a bunch of disposable
People
cash
don't have,
to throw
$70 to toss around.
Exactly. So I mean, yeah, it only makes sense that the entertainment piece to things is slowing down or stagnating right now. They're not going to grow right now. That makes perfect sense. When we come out the flip side of this and the economy begins to grow again, okay. Let's just paint a little different picture here. Let's look at what is going on in the United States in the entertainment service industries versus what's going on in China. For all intents and purposes, China's service industries, their entertainment industries, are growing right now while ours are shrinking. Why is that?
I have no idea, but I'm sure you're going to let me know. I should know. I really should know.
It's looking at what is the conversation there versus what is the conversation here. We're doing everything we can to regulate, squeeze, talking about banning TikTok and, everything we can to control information in this country. Now,
yeah.
I'm not saying that the Chinese don't do that, because they obviously do. Right. But
way more than we do.
But they're not in a situation where they have to, they've already done all this. They're pretty strict controls and things like that. Those things are already in place. We, on the other hand, are the ones who are having the issues right now. And there's social economics go in there, dollar standard versus whatever other bricks or whatever other thing is going on. So you've got that. You have, some of these countries who have, like Russia, for obvious reasons, who've declared that they're no longer going to use the dollar for trade. So I mean, you've got all those things going on too, and they absolutely impact our industry, and they impact our industry right here in the United States. So I don't think to say that these service-based plans they're stagnating, so they're going to become a thing of the past, or they're not going to continue to grow. I'm predicting they will continue to grow, and the naysayers that are out there, this guy who was talking about be prepared because you're not going to own your games. I think that's a reality. It's coming. It's already started. I don't support it in any way. But unless something drastically changes, that's going to happen. That's my prediction for you. We've got to make those decisions to change that as consumers. We've got to make those decisions. Now, what's happening right now is not us making those decisions, because I got to be honest with you. Us as consumers, we're really, really slow and lackadaisical in reacting to these things, because we want what we want and we want it now. And that's part of the problem. We're not willing to really truly say, you know what, Starbucks charges too much for a cup of coffee, but damn, I really want my Starbucks coffee. You know, or whatever it happens to be. This game company is charging too much for this game, but I really want the game, so I'm gonna pay whatever price they put on it. Or I'm gonna wait until the price comes down. One way or the other, I'm getting that game. And that's where we just have to, you know, as consumers, we've got to make a concerted effort to just say, look, I'm not putting up with your bullshit anymore. We had this conversation a few weeks ago with the reviews piece, dealing with who was it we were dealing with? I think the conversation is virtually the same. The reviews thing, people, you know.
I mean, we also talked about this when we talked about Ubisoft removing the crew
Right.
from people's libraries and the stuff Sony has pulled. It's the same thing. Like there are a lot of different avenues that can be taken, but none of them are easy. But frankly, it's a thing where, like, I think it needs to be a battle you have to fight on all fronts. You know, whether it be certain individuals, you know, doing, you know, filing lawsuits, petitioning local governments, doing whatever they can. If you can make those companies fight on all fronts, that's probably the best way to get them to actually change.
So not
just one thing.
No, well, you gotta fight it. Well, you gotta fight it. That's point blank. You gotta fight it. Here's the thing. Here's the thing with it, because people did fight the Ma Bell situation, and it was determined that Ma Bell broke the antitrust laws, which that whole situation actually was a big piece of what our current antitrust laws are based off of, the anti-monopoly piece to it. Well, they did, but did it do us any good? Did that legislation do us any good?
No, because we're right back where we fucking started.
And way worse.
Yep.
I mean, here's the thing. We don't know how things would have looked if that company stayed as it was and continued to this day.
Oh, no, I agree.
We could very well have ended up here anyway, or maybe it could have ended up even worse because they had such a huge market share. Honestly, you can't really say how well that has ended up for us.
Well, here's the thing that I think, and Greg, you can speak up for yourself, but I think the point he's trying to make is, yeah, we put those laws in, but we're back at square one again, if not worse. And I agree with him. We're back at square one, if not worse, because back then people were kind of they were paying attention. Now, honestly, I think people are starting to wake up. And again, I'm not trying to get all preachy and shit here, but people are starting to wake up and starting to be like, hold on, wait a minute. But the majority of people don't give a fuck. They don't care. They don't care to care. And now we're in a position where they have too much money. They have too much influence. And it's going to be, and here's the thing, they probably learned from the past. They're like, okay, well, we can't do what they did, but do things a little different to get to the same outcome. And they're going to play the long game. I agree with you, Matt. Like the subscription stuff, that's not going to kick off real big anytime soon, but it will. And you want the example that I have for that? Look at the streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, all that is cable. It's all it is. It's fucking cable. Mm-hmm. But we're paying way more for it.
depends on how many streaming services you're subscribing to, I guess.
True.
When
You're
you do
not
cable,
wrong.
you're getting everything. Well, I guess almost everything. They did
Almost
have their
everything.
additional packages, but you got a lot of shit for a lot of money.
So
I mean, they're also very fundamentally different services because the cable, you only watch
I agree
what
with
they
you,
have
Infinity Core.
planned for you to watch. While with the streaming services, you pick out what you want to watch when you want to. There is a difference in the service being provided. Meanwhile, when it comes to buying your games or paying subscription for them, there's no difference in what you're being provided with in the terms of the game. It's just now you're paying for it in a very different way. So I think there's a difference there.
But Infinity Core says, let's see, breaking up Mob Bell put the country behind years in internet market. The government should have done was regulate the piss out of Mob Bell. I agree, they should have definitely regulated the fuck out of them. And I agree with you that set us back in terms of internet. I think that's not the only reason why we have shit internet service in this country across the board. Again, if you work for Mobile, like, you probably know kind of what I mean. Like, there's a tons of other reasons why our internet infrastructure is absolute garbage. But
I don't.
here nor there.
Yeah, the really big companies. There's some issues when it comes to that, and I don't know whether regulating the hell out of a really big company is necessarily the way to do it. But we definitely have to find a way to balance the trade piece to it. Because when a company gets big enough, like where Ma Bell was at, where they can literally just squeeze out the competition. I mean, they literally got to a point where there really was no competition for them, and anybody who reared their head as competition, they would just crush them or buy them. Period.
Assimilate or die.
Or it's a Borg mentality, but that's dangerous. That is absolutely dangerous.
Oh yeah. When we have total control over a market, you can do whatever the fuck you want there.
But
we're seeing that in from several companies in the industry. One company we will probably have to wait till next week to talk about, but one of them is to a degree is everyone's favorite platform.
I was hoping we were just segueing right into a Steam conversation here.
Well, I mean,
you know what?
Perfect. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, who gives a fuck if we go over time? Let's talk about it. So yeah, basically, Steam is it's kind of under fire a little bit here from various avenues, primarily East Asia and Europe. So for those of you who don't know, and I'd be surprised if any of you don't, Steam is the largest digital distributor of games in the world, with the exception of one, but we won't go into that. You can watch an Asmund Gold video if you want. That was an eye-opening video.
I have mixed feelings about that guy. He says some things that are on point sometimes, but I think he also says some things where it's like, I don't know. A little bit. He's also someone that you could call terminally online.
He is. He is. But to be fair, that's how he makes his living. But anyway, get off him.
Again, not making a dig at a guy. He is a smart guy, but it's just some just make me go.
But so Steam is, for various reasons, is actually banned in Vietnam. Primarily because, so for those of you who don't know, Steam actually, depending on the region, one of the regions I'm going to name is China. They, based off of like the cultural aspect and what Chinese, I guess the Chinese variation of the ESRB rating and how that works over there, requires games to adhere to certain things, like I believe it's like no blood and a couple of other like no over-the-top violence is allowed in games that are purchasable in China. So Steam actually created a Chinese variation of Steam to allow for those games. And a lot of games will actually, depending on the regions that they're selling in, will have slightly altered versions of the game to be able to sell in those markets. Well, Vietnam, that kind of holds true. No blood, no excessive violence is allowed in their games and in the media there. Well, Steam never created I guess a Vietnamese version of the Steam platform. So pretty much you could have, now Steam is banned, get any of the games, and you can even get like the I guess non-censored version of the games. And that's primarily what a lot of Vietnamese gamers were doing. They were buying, the I guess full blood gore versions of games, which was actively hurting the local game market, because you have Steam here, selling everything, and then you have the local, game development market in Vietnam creating their games as per the rules, the cultural rules of the country.
The regulations.
And
It,
yeah,
it
there were the
wasn't cultural
regulations.
rules; it was the law.
It was
I
the
mean,
yeah,
that's right.
exactly.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah, it was the law.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why I say cultural, because I think it was a cultural thing, but yes, you are right, Greg. It's not just cultural rules; it was a definable law, like it was set in the books, and that was actively hurting the studios, professionally and economically there. So they actually lobbied their government to ban Steam. So Steam is in kind of a little bit of a hot water there, for that. And Matt, you want to go into the next piece? Because it doesn't stop there, folks.
I think you've looked into this a bit more than I have, so
yeah.
You can probably explain it a bit better than I can.
Gotcha. So within the EU, so again, for those of you guys who are unaware, the EU, I guess the best way to put it would be leads the world in terms of consumer protections, in a way. Like they've passed many a law, targeting big conglomerates and monopolization, and basically what has been deemed from their point of view as ill consumer, ill business practices.
Anti-consumer practices.
There we go. I was trying to find the fucking word. Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
Anti-consumer practices. They've pretty much come down heavy on that, and Poland is actually in the process of suing Steam due to some investigations that they've done into the company, where basically it kind of boils down to, let me look at my notes here. Steam basically restricting platforms other than themselves from selling different basically, if you're selling on the Steam platform in Poland, you can't sell elsewhere. And I mean, that's not anything that's new. Again, that
exclusivity.
I wouldn't even say exclusivity, but anti-compete and anti-competitive clauses are par for the course with a lot of companies. They're being brought to light and brought to litigation to see if there can't be a middle ground for that. Especially, as a freelancer, I do freelance work. Oftentimes, I if I work for somebody, I tell them, hey, I'm not gonna sign a non-compete clause, because then I just have to work for you. That's a specific case, but it's being brought more to the kind of, I guess, the larger scale companies and the globally. But basically, if as a developer we develop a game and we want to sell it on Steam will restrict us from selling it on other platforms, even to the point where if we're doing a sale, especially here in the US, Steam can't be undercut anywhere else in terms of sale prices. Typically, you'll always find Steam having this best sale prices compared to other digital platforms like GOG and a couple of other ones.
So I guess to kind of give an example of what you're speaking about right there.
Yeah.
Say you put your game on sale.
And I apologize for that info dump, but I just needed to get it out there.
Say if you had like 25% off on Steam, you wouldn't be able to do a greater or equal amount of sale on other platforms would have to be like less, essentially, like
Yes.
20, 15%, something like that.
Pretty much, yeah. As far as the information I've gathered, yes. And again, guys, take everything with a grain of salt because we're outsiders looking into this whole system, and we're never going to know all the details unless we're in it. But yeah, for the most part, it basically confirmed that yeah, if we're as a development studio, which we are, let's say we came out with a game and we're trying to sell it on Steam, we'd have to sell it for the greatest sale on Steam. If we decide to sell it, say on GOG or even Humble Bundle, perhaps, couldn't sell for less than it would be on Steam. And again, I'd like to stress, and I'm sure Greg will go more into this, but that non-compete, non-competitive clause is par for the course in pretty much every business. And from a business standpoint, I get it. I completely understand it. You don't want your competitor to do better than you. Like, it is what it is. But for a monopoly that giant that Steam is, and again, they're not the only digital platform where you can get games, so it's not a technical monopoly. But let's face it, and the numbers show it too. If you don't have your game on Steam, you're losing money. You're losing a lot of money.
I mean, Steam is for like digital games distribution, but like
Google
Dungeons and Dragons is for tabletop gaming.
Yeah.
Like they're not the only person in there, but they are by far the biggest.
The biggest, yeah.
So like as a developer, if you're not putting your game on Steam, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice, and because of that, unless you're getting like a tasty deal from someone else, you kind of got to take whatever deal Steam is gonna give you, and that I think that's probably the problem right there, where you really don't have other great alternatives.
You have options, but they're not very good comparatively.
Yeah, like you naturally want to put your game onto the biggest by far platform.
Absolutely.
And Steam knows that. they know that edge that they have, and they definitely leverage it.
Well,
and here's the thing. Go ahead, Greg. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and they should. They absolutely should. They should leverage that.
Yeah.
Their leverage of well, here's the thing with this. It's okay. In this case, I'm going to say, Steam's big now. Absolutely.
They're global. Global. Yeah, they're massive. Yeah.
But
I'm still listening.
As a company, I think they do a pretty good job with this. It's now, are they controlling of the games that go on their platform? Yes, but they also provide a platform for games that would not otherwise have a platform. They also provide, the tools, the systems that they use, the algorithm that they've designed for that site is fantastic for new or smaller developers. And because it's such a large platform, I mean, you would be remiss not to put your product on Steam. You really would, because you're missing out. Yeah, you got to pay them a cut. I mean, well, of course you do. They're a business too, right? You sell on. But just to have access to all those millions of gamers, I mean, that's who's going to Steam. Your customers, they're going to Steam. So it'd be just like saying, okay, Walmart, because all the chain stores do the same type of thing. I mean, and a lot of it has to do with the developers themselves, or the other publishers actually. But I mean, there's all kinds of deals that go on there where we're going to restrict. If you're going to carry our product, you can't carry these guys' product or those guys' product. That type of thing. This is normal practice. That's standard business. So to look at it from that standpoint, and the situation, honestly, the situation with Vietnam is unfortunate. However, I agree with what the Vietnamese government did in regulating them. I mean, because it's hurting the artists that are in country, their own marketplace, who are required to follow the laws, are being hurt by that. So absolutely, they have a responsibility to protect their people and their economic interests. And in this case,
Oh yeah.
Steam was outside of those interests. So yeah, boot them out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Steam is like Steam definitely isn't perfect. Like it definitely has its host of issues, but at least from a consumer perspective, it's still a pretty good option. Like, I'm going to compare Steam to the Epic Games Store right now because I was actually like checking because I do have the Epic Games like launcher. I can go to its marketplace.
Yeah.
I mostly only have that because of Unreal Engine, but I can look at the marketplace for games and stuff. And like looking at the store page for a game on Epic Games and looking at the store page for a game on Steam, you get very different experience. And I will definitely say that Steam's experience is superior because on Steam, it's very easy to see what people really think about the game. You can see how many because they focus on user reviews.
Mhm.
So you can see how many people have reviewed this game. Did they like it? Did they not like it? And you can see that ratio. And you can scroll down and see what people are actually saying in those reviews. It's very easy to find that. So you can make a fairly educated like decision before you buy the game based on what people are saying about it. You kind of get that general sense of whether people like it or not, what problems it may or may not have, etc.
Mhm.
Go to the same game on Epic Game Store, the only reviews you're getting are reviews from major publications like IGN, Kotaku, all the usual suspects, Metacritic,
Mhm.
and no single like a 5-star rating system. But you're not seeing what people, like other gamers, other consumers like you, are saying about the game. You only know what those big companies who tend to be a little kinder to games, what they have to say. So what you're able to like get as a consumer, the info you're gonna get is so different, and it's something that Epic Games really needs to like work on if they really want to muscle in on Steam's grounds. Like they gotta improve their service.
And I hope they do.
Oh yeah, no, that definitely because again, I'm not saying I like Epic Games the way that they do things, which is why I want them to do better so that they can become like a real rival to Steam. Because if they're both at like roughly the same spot, that provides the best environment for them to really compete for the consumers.
Yeah, and that's exactly what that's what it should be. That's
Oh, yeah. Competition at its finest.
Right. You figure out what the market wants, and then figure out how to do it better than everybody else. Simple.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds simple, but
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's simple in saying it, harder in practice sometimes.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I don't like exclusives, because it's like an artificial way to try to boost your platform without actually providing a better service. It's honestly something Epic Games has really focused on. And that's why their service is still lacking behind Steam.
Well, and that's exactly the thing right there, is that if it's being used that way, I mean, then if you're using it to cover up a deficit. In other words, you're using it because your product is inferior to the other product. Then yeah, okay, the market will deal with you. It will. It might take time, but it will deal with you. I mean, people are not going to continue to buy garbage just to I don't think there's anybody out there who's just going to keep buying games that are bullshit just because.
No.
So,
Yeah.
and if Steam is going to continue to be the better option, then people are going to go that way. Hopefully. And I don't know whether it's this other group or not. Maybe there's something new that's going to come in on the horizon that's going to be able to compete with Steam.
Maybe they're going to have an uphill battle because while again, Steam does leverage the fact that it's
Right.
the biggest online platform for selling games. Again, you guys have covered a number of notable points that makes the reasons why. One of the big ones is discoverability. They do it better than anybody. Their tagging, their recommendation algorithm, they do it better than anyone.
Well,
So those are the two pieces that we'll say Epic Games needs to beat and get better at.
Yeah.
Obviously, none of these other platforms paid attention to Steam until it was already too late.
That's another
Pretty
reason.
much. Like
They've got too big before people were like, hold on, wait a minute.
Right.
Yeah, like Steam, far from perfect, but it definitely earned the place it's at now.
Yeah.
And it's because again, they have problems, but they're still the best service out there right now. Yeah, the others need to catch up.
So far, yeah.
But that's the whole the adage of it may not be perfect, but it's the best thing we've got. You know what I mean?
It's essentially what that is. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, exclusivity sucks, and I definitely like to see exclusivity die because that's just best for the consumer.
I agree. I completely agree.
Because it's honestly starting to go away on consoles a bit because we talked about a bit before about Microsoft, how things weren't going super well for them, and they were looking to kind of bring certain things to the more go multi-platform, put on the PlayStation. Well, Sony's actually doing the same thing because they looked at like the sales for Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, two of their biggest games they've put out lately, and how they were kind of disappointed by those sales. So they've been talking about going multi-platform as well, and I think that's a great thing because that just means that like they're opening up those games to other markets, so more people can play those games, and they're able to make more money because they're selling their games in more places.
I mean, that's the ideal. In my opinion, that's the best case scenario for everyone. Hopefully, Steam kind of jumps on board. Hopefully, and again, I understand why the exclusivity piece for selling on particular platforms exists, but I think basically the more access that the consumers have to games, I think it benefits everyone in the long run.
Oh yeah, exclusivity doesn't help sell games; it only helps the platform. So like,
my 2 cents.
If Sony really only cared, like exclusivity on Xbox or PlayStation only helps the console, but it does not help the sale of the games.
No.
Like if they want the games to do well, then they need to open that shit up. And we're seeing now that like, yeah, the exclusivity for consoles, it has been doing so well so far. They want their heavy hitting games that they put a bunch of money into to make that money back, and they're realizing that restricting people's access to that game isn't doing so great right now.
Who knew?
Like Marvel Spider-Man 2, fantastic game, but they're still saying that it didn't do as well as they hoped. Wonder how different that would have gone if you could have gotten that on Xbox or on PC, the other platforms. That could have been a very different story. I don't think so. Actually, let me check on Steam real quick.
I think you can. Because here's the thing: the ironic part about the whole console war shit. The one place they always go to is PC. 9 times out of 10, you can play whatever console exclusive game on that console and on PC because they know most people are PC gamers.
Yeah.
Well,
so the thing
I wouldn't say most, but it's a significant amount.
So things Sony does a lot is that they'll keep it on PlayStation for a while, then eventually release it to PC. Because I see the first Marvel Spider-Man.
Okay, so they do
remastered, but I don't see the second one here.
Yeah, it's probably coming.
So they may have been planning to. Like eventually release it on Steam, but that probably would have been like a full year after its initial release.
Yeah, probably.
Which
again,
by
yeah,
then
I
hype
completely
is
Hype is
down.
gone. Yeah, hype is gone. I agree. I agree with you. I
So
think honestly, the exclusivity shit needs to stop.
yeah,
Just let people fucking play games, man. You make more money, they get more games, everybody fucking wins. Just
yeah.
stop with the
Again,
bullshit.
it only helps the sale of the console, but does nothing for the game itself.
Yeah. And we're already seeing how fucking console sales are going. It's almost impossible to get a PlayStation 5.
Yeah,
But
still don't have one of those. Hard to find.
I,
Hard to
I
find
wouldn't
one that
even,
isn't being scalped and sold for like
yeah, so for
3
like,
times
yeah.
the market price.
But
Yeah, at this point, I've all
yeah,
given up.
that's kind of all we've got for you for today, I think. Unless you guys got anything extra.
I mean, I mean, just to kind of close things off, I'm just gonna say I can't wait for today to be over because tomorrow is Paper Mario Thousand Year Door remake, baby.
Are you going to bed
Oh.
early, Matt? Are you going to go to bed early so tomorrow comes quicker?
Bold of you to assume I'll be able to sleep tonight.
See,
Yeah.
in here I thought
Fair.
he was going to say that tomorrow is season 2, episode 6 of the BOR, but
He was thinking that. He was.
He was
Sorry,
thinking.
I got my priorities, Greg. Yeah, you have to understand.
Wow. A Paper Mario, huh?
Yeah, Paper.
No,
He's a
that's
huge
cool.
Paper Mario fan.
Thousand Year Door, one of my favorite games ever.
So a couple of housekeeping things before we close out tonight's episode. As Greg mentioned, we have the season 2, episode 6?
Yep, episode 6 tomorrow night.
Episode 6 of the BOR tomorrow at 8 p.m. EST, right here on the Razzmatazz channel. I want to say Razzmatazz Network. Maybe we need to change the name.
Razzmatazz Network.
Something to think about.
Well, we kind of could maybe think that might be stretching it, man. But
maybe,
hey, I mean, we could call ourselves whatever we want, I guess.
Episode 54 of the update log will be next Wednesday at 8 p.m. The usual time, 8 p.m. EST, right here on the Razzmatazz channel. But we also have a special, very, very special episode coming this Friday. So it's not going to be on our usual time, but it will be a special guest sit down with one of the writers of Dragon's Bane, which is a game out of Free League Press, Magnus Setter, and one of the artists on the game Dragon's Bane, David A. Brzgala. And if I'm mispronouncing that, David, I apologize. You can yell at me later. We're going to be sitting down with them tomorrow, not tomorrow, Friday afternoon. I believe it will be 1 p.m. EST.
Yep,
We're having to
noontime
do
Central.
we're having to do some conversions from they're over in Stockholm, so a little bit ahead of us. So we're going to be sitting down with them on Friday afternoon to discuss their careers themselves and the work that they did on Dragon's Bane.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend that you do. It's a game out of Free League Press, which is one of our partners. Great company, great group of people, great creators. Some of their games that they've been putting out there, namely Vaesen, Pirate Borg, the Blade Runner game, the Walking Dead game that has come out, and these are all TTRPGs, by the way. They've done, they come out to a massive success. Definitely check out their catalog. Other than that, Greg, do we have anything else?
Hey, and stay tuned to our Thursday night games, because we are going to be diving into a lot of these games, doing some one shots, possibly even creating a series game based off maybe one of Free League's games.
Yes. Yep.
As we kind of switch things up a little bit here in 2024, the guests that we do a little different than most of the Twitch channels in our space. End up interviewing a lot of other Twitch streamers, things like that. We try to make sure that all of our guests are industry specific, so people that are actually out there doing the work.
Yeah.
They're content experts. So, and that's our aim here. So,
yep. to get you guys some authentic views on the gaming industry, both from the video game standpoint and from the TTRPG standpoint. Just because we again, if you want to see the video game standpoint, you want to see an OG, one of the OG World of Warcraft developers. We do have a sit down with Twain Martin, who was one of the first developers on World of Warcraft, and he was a developer on Diablo 1 and 2, I believe, and a couple of other games out of Blizzard. Man has seen and done it all. Hopefully, we're also going to get another industry veteran from the video game side here soon. I'm not going to say who it is because I don't know yet, but I'm going to try. But aside from that,
Well, we got a couple returning guests that we don't have scheduled
yes,
yet, but I mean, like
yep,
Luke Stratton from Pirate Board,
scratch, yep,
the
yep,
Methron.
working on getting
Um,
bring him
Ma-
back because he has a bunch of content coming out for Pirate Borg.
Thomas
Yes, Tomas and Matthias,
and
who
Matthias.
were both co-owners. There's a couple of them of Free League Press, and they both worked on joint projects and separate projects. I know Matthias's big one is Symbarom, and for Tomas, I believe it was the Blade Runner one that was one of his. Well, I mean, he's done several of them. He's the lead. I want to say the lead designer.
Yep.
For a lot of their games.
He's worked on quite a few, like Mutant Year
So,
Zero.
yeah, Mutant Zero. That was Mutant Zero. Blade Runner, Coriolis, stuff like that. Which actually, Coriolis just finished a Kickstarter for, I guess, an expansion piece. Theirs it did really well. So check that out. But I think that is it, guys. I think that is the end of episode 53 of the Update Log. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. It's always good to have you here and good to sit down and talk with y'all and see what you guys have to say about the content that we produce. If you haven't already, join us on our Discord. That where you get to, talk to us directly and a bit easier. And we do have some of the folks that we've sat down and talked with in our Discord actually. So if you want to poke them and see what they're about, ask some questions, and if they're willing to answer, and go ahead and do so. You also get to stay up to date with what we have going on here at the Razzmatazz channel. But otherwise, I believe that is it for tonight.
All right, and I think we are going to end out right there. Thank you all very much for coming in tonight, and we'll hopefully see all of you tomorrow night.